But it's very difficult at a certain price point to differentiate between the two. Because in South Africa, if you buy wine in bulk at a certain price point, it's more or less the same. So it's the package that needs to differentiate from your competitor.
Of course. Do you also play in the very premium league of wines?
The wine industry is a triangle, and when we started at the bottom, and then you have bulk and brands at the bottom end, and then you build up. So the next step for us as a company, and we're working on that project, is a premium product. So we've got premium products, but in premium products you've got super premium and ultra premium categories.
Super and then ultra.
And we are aiming for the ultra premium with this product. So for that product we will go wine of origin, specifically wine of origin. We will also try to do it with a producer that we know is a quality producer out of a certain area, where the terroir, like they say, terroir meaning soil, climate, everything is suitable for what we want to do. So that's a product that we started last year with already. We got experts in like Michael Friedchen to taste the wines with us to make sure that we're on the right track. And we will launch this product in September. So our aim is for that product to take us to the next level. Because there we compete with your estates in terms of price.
Yes.
And it's not the easy category to compete in. So everything has to be in place. Packaging, wine.
Of course.
Service,
but that thing takes time. Eh? As you said, you started with the bulk and then up in the pyramid.
Yes.
And now you're aiming for the ultra premium.
Yes, it takes time. In a wine company, you need to have volume, out of my point of view. Even if you're in a estate, you need to have volume. If you don't have volume sales, you're dead. When you need the entry into the market, you first need to convince the gatekeeper to buy the product. So the gatekeeper is what we call the buyer.
Of course.
So firstly, you need to convince him. So what happened is when we started the company, is the buyer saw that we are designing labels with a difference. And that drew them to us. Because in wine, it's not only, you don't only sell wine in a bottle, you also need to sell wine in bulk for cash flow purposes. So for us as a company, we need to get the entrance into the market. So the same buyer might be willing to sell, or able to buy wine in bulk for his, what we call buyer's own brands. In South Africa, the Pick and Pay Blue Label. That's a typical buyer's own brand.
Okay, tell me about that.
So let's talk about the UK market. Companies like Tesco, Sainsbury's, all of those companies got their own labels. For that, they normally buy, at the moment, wine in bulk. So the wine has been exported in bulk, been paid in 90 days, that generates cash flow. So in a business sense, what we did is we generated enough sales in bulk to get cash flow in order to build our own brands. So when we started the business, it was basically on two legs. One is bulk business, other one was branded business. But branded business, you need really money behind you, and we did not have that. So we utilized the bulk business to generate the cash flow with some margin. But margin in bulk business is much lower, but it generated cash flow. And we utilized the cash flow and the small margin to build the brands.
I see.
But to open the door, the buyer, the gatekeeper had to see that you've got something that is not the same as what other companies can offer them.
I see. So you deal directly with the buyer of, say, Sainsbury or Tesco? Depending
on the market. So in certain markets you deal direct, in other markets you deal with an importer. But now, an importer in a country like Holland, he needs to have companies out of the world that can produce products to him that he can sell in his own market. So he's always looking for a company that can produce different products at the right quality, but then you also have to make sure that the supply chain, you can manage the whole supply chain. So if you're an importer in Holland, you look for a company in South Africa or Australia or Chile that can produce the right product at the right time, at the right place. So you always also have to convince the importer that you are the right company for him, it's the right match. In order to do so, the first thing is still visual.
Yes.
So when you're at a wine show or wherever, he needs to see that you can produce something visually acceptable.
You have this and the next brand.
And it's visually acceptable for his consumer. If that is in place, then the juice inside plays a role. Whether the quality is good enough for the consumer, for the price. So the first point out of my view, in my view, is to be visually acceptable for the market.
Yes. And that's how you then
That's how we
on
come.
the brand.
Yes.
And the brand, this one I believe is growing.
It's growing, yes.
You mentioned a few times the word, the juice in the bottle. Is that a wine industry term?
Yes, it's slang.
It's slang.
Yeah, yeah. So in general on wine shows people talk about juice, the juice in bottle. And the juice needs to be good and consistently good. Remember, it's one thing to have a brand of 100,000 bottles at a certain price point, at a certain quality. It's something else to have that same brand at 2 or 3 million bottles, consistent quality. So very, very important in the wine industry as well is to have consistent quality all the time. In the USA, for instance, the palate of the consumer is extremely good. And they can pick up a difference in style from one vintage to another vintage.
Yes.
And it can happen because we work with a product from nature. So it's very important to keep the quality consistent, but also the style for certain markets. Other markets, they know that the style might differ. It's not such a problem from one vintage to another vintage.
Then there's another thing that I wondered about, Gerard, and that is in this pyramid that we talked about, the bulk wine at the bottom and then the premiums at the top. Is there such a difference between the bottom wines, the quality, and the top wines?
There's a difference between bottom and top, a huge difference in terms of quality. It's simple, vineyard 20-30 tons is normally entry level, and then at the top level a vineyard produces 6 or 7 or 8 tons. So the vineyard has only have to look after a certain amount of bunches at the top level, so there's much more attention from the vineyard to the bunch, much more flavors. So at the bottom end, there's flavors because there's a lot more bunches on this vineyard that he has to look after.
I see, so it's the production in the vineyard.
That plays a huge role. So in wine, a producer will first see, you get different producers. Some is for the mass market, some is more niche. So as a company, you need to have a combination of all of them if you want to supply wine in the whole pyramid.